I want you to take a deep breath. Right now, wherever you are, driving in your car, sitting in a quiet room, or maybe you're at the end of your rope, I want you to feel the weight of your own existence. There was a time in my life, back in Miami, when I was struggling just to be heard, just to be seen. I was running myself ragged, trying to be everything to everybody. I was the guy who always said eyes. I was the guy who was always a phone call away. I thought that by being available, I was being valuable. But I found myself empty. I found myself looking in the mirror and not recognizing the man staring back at me. I was available to the world, but I was completely absent from my own soul. Have you ever felt like you're a character in everyone else's movie, but you're just an extra in your own? Have you ever felt that deep, aching exhaustion that sleep can't fix? That's the hunger of a spirit that has been ignored. I'm here to tell you today that if you want to manifest the greatness that God placed within you, you have to learn the most difficult, most radical, most transformative skill there is. You have to become unavailable. The divine disconnection. I want you to really hear me when I say this. We are living in the most distracted era in the history of humanity. We are being bombarded 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, by a relentless stream of noise that is designed to keep you from yourself. If you look around, everyone is plugged in. Everyone is online. Everyone is responding to a notification, a ping, a buzz, or a ring. We have become a generation of reactors rather than creators. And I'm telling you from the bottom of my heart that if you do not learn to disconnect from the world, you will never truly connect with your destiny. There is a divine disconnection. That must take place if you want to see the manifestation of the greatness that is locked inside of you. You see, for years, I thought that being busy was the same thing as being productive. I thought that if my phone was ringing and people were asking for me, it meant I was important. I was available to every cousin, every friend, every associate who had a problem or a complaint. I was a professional fire extinguisher, running around putting out everyone else's fires while my own dreams were being turned to ash. I was exhausted, I was frustrated, and I was broke, not just in my bank account, but in my spirit. I had to realize that my availability was actually a form of cowardice. I was using other people's problems as an excuse to avoid the terrifying work of facing my own potential. When you decide to become unavailable, the first thing you're going to face is the guilt trap. People who have benefited from your accessibility will suddenly start calling you selfish. They'll say you've changed. They'll say you're acting brand new. And you've got to be strong enough to say, you're right, I am new. Because the old version of me was dying while trying to keep you happy. You have to understand that your spirit has a limited amount of bandwidth. Every time you engage in a gossip session, every time you scroll through the highlight reels of people you don't even like, and every time you give your ear to a naysayer, you are leaking the very energy you need to build your empire. The divine disconnection is about creating a sacred space where the world cannot find you. I remember when I was first starting out, I had to literally hide. I would go to the library and sit in the back corner where nobody knew me. I would turn my phone off. Back then it was a pager. But the principle is the same. And I would just sit with my thoughts. At first, it was uncomfortable. The silence was deafening. I could hear all the doubts I had been trying to drown out with noise. I heard the voice that said, Laz, you're just a kid from Liberty City. You're a D-label student. You don't have the education. You don't have the look. But because I stayed disconnected from the world, I stayed in that room long enough to hear a second voice, a deeper voice, a voice that said, but you have the hunger, you have the heart, and if you stay here and study, if you stay here and prepare, I will open doors for you that no man can shut. You cannot hear that second voice in a crowd. You cannot hear the instructions for your future while you're listening to the top 40 or the evening news. The news is designed to keep you in fear, and fear is the opposite of faith. You have to become unavailable to the fear mongers. You have to curate your environment with the precision of a surgeon. If someone is not feeding your vision, they are starving your spirit. It's that simple. This disconnection isn't a one-time event, it's a lifestyle. It's the discipline of the power hour, it's the ritual of the early morning, it's the no-fly zone you create around your mind. When you are in that space, you are not a mother, you are not a father, you are not an employee, and you are not a friend. You are a soul in communication with its creator, searching for the blueprint of your next level. Think about the great ones, think about the inventors, the leaders, the masters of their craft. They all had a place where they were unavailable. They understood that you cannot create a masterpiece while you're being interrupted every 5 minutes. You have to go into the deep work. You have to go into that place where time disappears and your obsession takes over. People will ask, "Where have you been?" And you don't even have to answer. Let your results be the answer. Let your transformation be the testimony. I'm calling you today to reclaim your time. I'm calling you to reclaim your focus. I'm calling you to step out of the matrix of constant connectivity and step into the silence of your own power. It will feel lonely at first. You might lose some friends who were only there for the convenience of your company. But you will find yourself. And once you find yourself, you will realize that you are never truly alone. You are backed by the power that moves the stars. But that power requires your undivided attention. Disconnect from the world so you can finally connect with the reason you were born, protecting the seed of your future. Now, I want you to lean in because this is where the battle for your destiny is truly won or lost. Once you've made that initial decision to disconnect, once you've pulled away from the noise, you're going to find that you have planted something precious inside the garden of your mind. I call this the seed. It's that idea, that dream, that burning desire to be more than you are right now. But here is the cosmic truth. A seed is at its most vulnerable when it is first planted. It hasn't developed deep roots yet. It hasn't broken through the hard crust of the earth. And if you are too available to the wrong elements, those elements will trample your seed before it ever has a chance to see the sun. You have to become a fierce, uncompromising guardian of your own potential. I remember when I first told people I wanted to be a disc jockey. I was just a kid from Liberty City, labeled jukable, mentally retarded, and people looked at me like I had lost my mind. They started throwing salt on my seed. They said, "Les, look at your circumstances. Look at your background. You don't have the voice. You don't have the connection." If I had stayed available to those conversations, if I had kept going back to those same people to ask for their approval, they would have choked the life out of my dream. I had to learn to shut my mouth and protect my what if. You see, most people don't want you to fail, but they don't want you to succeed beyond them either. Your growth makes them uncomfortable because it exposes their own excuses. When you become unavailable, you are effectively building a fence around your garden. You've got to understand that not everyone is qualified to sit at the table of your future. There are people in your life right now, maybe even people you love, who are dream killers. They aren't doing it out of malice. They're doing it out of their own limited vision. They see you as you were, not as you are becoming. If you stay available to their doubt, you are giving them permission to poison your soil. You have to realize that your dream is a private matter between you and your creator until it is strong enough to stand on its own. You don't show a blueprint to someone who doesn't know how to read one. You don't show a masterpiece in progress to a critic who only knows how to tear things down. Protecting the seed means you have to become unavailable to the casual life. You have to be unavailable to the water cooler. Talk where people complain about the government, the weather, and the economy. If you are constantly soaking in that negativity, you are watering your seed with acid. You have to be intentional. You have to say, my mind is a sacred space, and I am not letting any unauthorized personnel inside. This requires a level of discipline that most people simply aren't willing to exercise. It means you might have to spend your Friday nights alone with a book. It means you might have to skip the family reunion where everyone reminds you of your past mistakes. It means you have to be okay with being the mystery. in your social circle. Think about the biological process of growth. A mother's womb is the ultimate unavailable space. For 9 months, that new life is protected from the elements, from the light, from the noise, and from the bacteria of the outside world. If that baby was available to the world too soon, it wouldn't survive. Your dream is that baby, it needs a period of gestation. It needs a season where it is nourished only by your faith and your hard work. When you are in that womb phase of your development, you have to be ruthless about who you let into your space if they don't bring prenatal vitamins for your soul in the form of encouragement, wisdom, and challenge. Then they don't get an appointment. I want you to ask yourself, who are the pests in your garden? Who are the people who always seem to have a reason why? Won't work. Who are the people who drain your battery every time they call? You've got to prune those branches. It might hurt and they might cry, but if you don't prune the dead weight, the whole tree will die. You are responsible for the harvest of your life. Nobody else is going to stand at the judgment of your potential and answer for why you didn't use your gifts. It's on you. You have to be the one to say, I am unavailable for small talk because I am involved in a big vision. When you protect the seed, you are honoring the God-given talent within you. You are saying, this gift is too important to be handled by careless hands. You are developing a holy arrogance, not a pride that looks down on others, but a confidence that looks up to the vision. You start to move with a different kind of energy. You start to attract the right kind of rain and the right kind of sunlight. You find that when you stop being available to the flea market of life, you start being invited to the palace, but the palace only accepts those who have mastered the art of self-protection. Keep your seed covered. Keep your head down. Keep your heart open to the divine and closed to the cynical. Your harvest is coming, but only if you stay in the ground long enough to grow. The refiner's fire of self-mastery. Now, once you've disconnected from the noise and you've built a wall around that precious seed, you enter the most grueling, most painful, and yet most beautiful stage of the journey. This is the stage where you are unavailable not just to others, but to the old lazy, fearful version of yourself. I call this the refiner's fire of self-mastery. You see, gold doesn't start out shining. It starts out encrusted with dirt, rock, and impurities. To get to the gold, you have to turn up the heat. You have to put it in a furnace so intense that everything that isn't gold simply burns away. Most people want the shine, but they are terrified of the heat. They want the applause of the crowd, but they aren't willing to endure the agony of the woodshed, where the mastery is actually born. I remember when I was trying to break into the world of public speaking. I didn't have a mentor sitting next to me every day. I didn't have a fancy degree. What I had was a tape recorder and a relentless hunger. I would go into my room, lock the door, and become completely unavailable to the world for hours on end. I would record myself speaking, then I would listen to it, and I would hate it. I would hear my mistakes, my stutters, my lack of rhythm. I would do it again, and again, and again. My friends would knock on the door and say, Alez, come on out, we're going to the movies. And I'd have to shout back, I can't, I'm busy. I wasn't busy working a job, I was busy working on me. I was in the fire. I was refining my craft. I was teaching my mind to obey my spirit. Self-mastery is the ability to tell yourself now, when your flesh is screaming as, it's the ability to get out of bed at 40 Otterdam when it's cold and dark. Not because someone is paying you, but because you've made a covenant with your future. When you become unavailable to the comforts of the average life, you begin to develop a psychological edge. You start to realize that most people are running on autopilot. They eat what's easy, they think what's popular, and they do what's comfortable. But you are in the furnace. You are sharpening your mind like a blade. You are studying the greats until their wisdom becomes your intuition. You are practicing your jump shot when the gym is empty and the lights are low. This period of unavailability is where you develop character muscles. You cannot buy character, and you cannot inherit it. You have to forge it in the fire of discipline. There will be moments when you feel like quitting, There will be moments when you look at your life and think, is all this sacrifice really worth it? Nobody even knows I'm doing this. And that's exactly the point. The universe is testing you. It's asking, do you want this for the fame? Or do you want this because it's who you are? If you only work when people are watching, you aren't a master, you're an actor. A master is someone who has become unavailable to the need for external validation. A master finds joy in the struggle, beauty in the repetition, and power in the privacy of the process. You've got to get obsessed. You've got to get to the point where your dream is the first thing you think about when you wake up and the last thing you think about before you close your eyes. When you are that focused, you don't have time for balanced living. Balance is for people who want to stay where they are. Greatness requires an obsession that makes you look unbalanced to the average person. They'll say you're a workaholic. They'll say you're too intense. You just smile and keep stoking the fire. You aren't being too much. You're just becoming the one. In this fire, you are also burning away your victim story. We all have one. I didn't have a father. I was fired from my job. I don't have the money. In the refiner's fire, those stories are fuel for the flame. You realize that your struggle wasn't meant to break you. It was meant to wake you up. You stop being available to your excuses. You stop being a volunteer victim. You start to take 100% responsibility for your life. You realize that if it's going to be, it's up to me. This is a lonely realization, but it is the most liberating realization a human being can ever have. So I'm asking you, what are you doing in your dark time? What are you doing when the phone is off and the world is asleep? Are you scrolling or are you growing? Are you wishing or are you working? You have to become unavailable to the leisure class if you want to join the legacy class. The fire is hot, yes. The sweat is real, yes. The exhaustion is deep, yes. But the person who emerges from that furnace is a person the world cannot break. The person who emerges from that fire is a person who has earned the right to lead, the right to speak, and the right to win. Stay in the fire. Don't come out until you shine. Reclaiming your worth from the market. I want you to look at yourself for a moment, not as the world sees you, but as you truly are in the eyes of the Creator. We live in a society that is designed to make you feel like a common thing. We are taught to be part of the labor market, to be part of the consumer base, to be a user or a follower. And when you are constantly available to the market's demands, when you are always responding to the lowest bidder for your time and your attention, you are essentially telling the world that you are on the clearance rack. But I'm here to tell you that you are not a commodity. You are a one-of-a-kind, high-value masterpiece, and it is time you started acting like it. You have to become unavailable to the discount hunters of life, those people and organizations that want your brilliance for a bargain, those who want your soul for a salary, and those who want your energy for free. I remember a time when I was so desperate for work that I would take any gig that came my way. I was available to everyone. If someone wanted me to speak for 20 minutes in a basement for a sandwich, I was there. I thought that by being accessible, I was being humble. But I realized that I wasn't being humble. I was being cheap. I was devaluing the gift that God had given me. I had to learn the law of scarcity. If you can find it anywhere, it's not worth much. If you can get it anytime, it has no premium. I had to go into a period of total unavailability to the low-level market so that I could re-emerge as a premium presence. I had to stop answering the phone for the people who only wanted to pick my brain and start reserving my mind for those who were willing to invest in my vision. When you reclaim your worth, you have to be prepared for the world to get angry when a store raises its prices. The people who were used to the old price complain. They'll say, "Who do you think you are? You used to be so easy to reach. You used to be so accommodating." You have to have the internal fortitude to say, the price of admission to my life has gone up because the cost of maintaining my spirit has increased. You have to become unavailable to the bargain basement conversations. You have to stop being the emergency contact for people who are only in a crisis because they refuse to change their habits. Your time is your life, and once it is spent, it is gone forever. If you are available to everyone's drama, you are literally giving away pieces of your life to things that do not matter. Think about a diamond. A diamond is just carbon that stayed unavailable under immense pressure for a very long time. It didn't come to the surface until it was ready. And because it is rare, because it is hard to find, and because it is beautiful, it commands a price that people are willing to save for years to pay. You are that diamond. But as long as you are acting like a piece of coal, laying on the ground for anyone to kick around, the world will treat you like coal. You have to go underground. You have to withdraw your presence from the marketplace of mediocrity. You have to stop being the person who just wants to help and start being the person to transform. This is about the psychology of the velvet rope. You ever see a club where the line is around the block, but there's a velvet rope and a man standing there deciding who gets in? That rope creates a sense of value. It creates a sense of unavailability. When you put a velvet rope around your schedule, your focus, and your heart, people suddenly start to respect you more. They realize that they can't just drop by your house or hit you up with a text and expect an immediate reply. You are busy building. You are busy dreaming. You are busy becoming. When you reclaim your worth, you stop seeking likes and you start seeking legacy. You stop looking for followers and you start looking for fruit. Most people are terrified to do this because they have a poverty mindset. They're afraid that if they aren't available, they'll miss out on an opportunity. But listen to me. An opportunity that requires you to devalue yourself is not an opportunity. It's a trap. It's a distraction wrapped in a paycheck. The real opportunities, the kings and queens opportunities, only come to those who have demonstrated that they value themselves. You attract what you are, not what you want. As a person, you will attract discount situations. If you are a high-value, unavailable person, you will attract elite circumstances. I want you to go home and audit your life. Look at your calendar. Look at your call log. Look at your dough list. How much of that is you being available to other people's agendas? You have to fire the freeloaders of your soul. You have to resign from the committee of people pleasers. You have to start treating your time like it's 10,000 an hour. If a conversation isn't worth 10,000, why are you having it? If an event isn't worth the 10,000 of your life force, why are you there? Reclaim your worth. Set your price. Become unavailable to anything that doesn't meet the standard of the person you are becoming. The market will eventually adjust to your new price, but only if you refuse to offer a discount. The architecture of your new identity. There is a moment in the life of every person who achieves greatness where they must come to a terrifying realization. The person who got you to where you are today is not the person who will get you to where you want to go tomorrow. To reach that next level, you have to engage in a process of total internal reconstruction. I call this the architecture of your new identity. It is the phase where you become completely unavailable to the old you. You see, most people try to build a skyscraper on a foundation of sand. They try to change their circumstances without changing their character. They try to get new results while clinging to old habits, old fears, and old ways of speaking. But you cannot put new wine into old wineskins. You have to go into a season of disappearance to redesign the very fabric of who you are. I remember when I decided I was going to change my life. I had to stop hanging out with the people I had known for 20 years. Not because I didn't love them, but because they were the keepers of my old identity. Every time I was around them, they reminded me of little less from Liberty City. They reminded me of my failures, my mistakes, and my limitations. They were like anchors holding me to a shore I was trying to leave behind. I had to become unavailable to them so I could become available to my future. I had to go into what I call the cocoon. Now, if you look at a caterpillar in a cocoon, from the outside, it looks like a tomb. It looks like nothing is happening. It looks like the caterpillar has given up on life. But on the inside, there is a total molecular breakdown occurring. The caterpillar is literally dissolving so that it can be reorganized into a butterfly. This is what I am calling you to do. You have to be willing to dissolve the you that is comfortable, the you that is safe, and the you that is liked by everyone. You have to become an architect of your own soul. When you are in this unavailable state, you are drawing up new blueprints. You are deciding, how does the new me walk? How does the new me talk? What does the new me tolerate? You start to realize that your identity is not a fixed thing, it is a choice. If you've been a procrastinator for 40 years, you can decide today to become a man of action. If you've been timid your whole life, you can decide to become bold, but you can't make that transition while you're still checking in with your old environment for permission. You have to stay in that room alone until the new identity takes hold. I used to spend hours in front of the mirror. Practicing my new identity, I would look myself in the eye and say, Olas Brown, you are a master communicator. You have a message that the world needs to hear. You are powerful, you are focused, and you are disciplined. At first, I felt like a liar. My bank account was empty, my car was broken down, and nobody knew my name. But I stayed unavailable to the reality of my circumstances and stayed available to the truth of my vision. I was building the internal architecture. I was reinforcing the beams of my self-belief. I was laying the bricks of my new habits. You see, the world doesn't give you what you want, it gives you what you are. If you want a different life, you have to become a different person. This period of unavailability is where you develop cognitive autonomy. Most people have their thoughts dictated to them by the media, by their friends, or by their upbringing. But when you pull away, you start to think for yourself. You start to challenge the limiting beliefs that have been running your life like a software program in the background. You start to ask, why do I believe I can't be wealthy? Why do I believe I'm not worthy of love? Why do I believe I have to stay in this job? As the architect, you start tearing down those old, rotten structures of thought and replacing them with steel pillars of conviction. You are building a mental fortress that no critic can penetrate. This is a lonely process. People will see your cocoon and think you're being stuck up or that you've lost your way. But you aren't lost, you're being found. You are being assembled. You are undergoing a spiritual renovation. You have to be unavailable to the whole version of your social life, your hobbies, and your distractions so you can dedicate every ounce of your energy to the birth of this new man or woman. You are preparing for a deboot. You aren't just coming back, you're coming back. Imagined. I want you to take this seriously. Your life is a building. Is it a shack built out of shoulds and coulds, or is it a cathedral built out of musts and wills? Take the time to be unavailable. Put on your hard hat. Pick up your tools. Do not come out of that cocoon until you can look in the mirror and see a person you finally respect. Do not come out until your new identity is so strong that it doesn't matter what the world says, because you know who you are. You are the architect, you are the builder, and you are the masterpiece. Stay in the work until the work is done, emerging with purposeful presence. Now we come to the moment that everything has been leading toward. You've gone through the disconnection, you've protected your seed, you've endured the refiner's fire, you've reclaimed your worth, and you've built a new identity in the dark. Now, the season of unavailability has served its purpose, and it is time for you to step back into the light. But I want you to understand something deep. You aren't going back to the world as the person who left it. You are emerging with what I call a purposeful presence. You aren't just showing up anymore. You are a force to be reckoned with. You are no longer available to the trivial, but you are more available than ever to your mission. This is the stage where the world finally gets to see the you that you've been working on in the laboratory of your soul. I remember when I finally felt ready to step onto the big stages. I had spent years in the dark, years being unavailable, years talking to the walls and the plants. When I finally walked out under those lights, I didn't have to look for confidence. Confidence was already there, living in my bones. I didn't have to wonder if I belonged. The struggle had already validated my ticket. When you emerge with purposeful presence, you carry a weight with you. It's a spiritual gravity. People can sense that you've been somewhere. They can sense that you've been through the fire and that you didn't smell like smoke when you came out. You don't walk into a room and hope people like you. You walk into a room and the room changes because you're in it. This new version of you is unavailable in a different way. Before, you were unavailable because you were hiding to grow. Now, you are unavailable because you are too grounded to be moved. You can stand in the middle of a storm, and while everyone else is panicking, you are at peace. Why? Because you've already survived the internal storm of your own transformation. You are unavailable to the petty arguments. You are unavailable to the jealousy of others. You are unavailable to the small-mindedness that used to keep you awake at night. You have become like a skyscraper high above the street noise, anchored deep into the bedrock of your character. Your presence is now a gift to those around you because you are no longer asking for anything. You are offering everything. When you emerge, your yes has a different vibration. When you say yes to a project or yes to a relationship, people know it means something. It carries the weight of all the no's. You said during your season of isolation, your availability is now a premium. People don't just get your time, they earn it. And because you've done the work, you start to attract other high value souls. You stop being a magnet for broken people who just want to drain your energy, and you start becoming a magnet for destiny shakers who want to build with you. You realize that your own availability was actually a filtering system. It cleared out the weeds so the flowers could finally bloom. Think about the story of the bamboo tree. For 5 years, it stays underground. It is unavailable to the world. You water it, you fertilize it, and you see nothing. If you didn't know better, you'd think it was dead. But then, in the 5th year, it shoots up 80 feet in 6 weeks. That's you. People are going to see your 6 weeks of sudden success, and they're going to call it an overnight miracle. They won't see the 5 years you spent underground. They won't see the nights you cried yourself to sleep. They won't see the days you were unavailable to the fun so you could be available to the fundamentals. But that's okay. You don't need them to see the process. You just need them to see the tree. As you step into this final chapter, I want you to realize that you have a responsibility. Your purposeful presence is a light. There are people still stuck in the noise. There are people still letting their seeds be trampled. There are people still sitting on the clearance rack of life. You are the evidence that it is possible to change. You are the living proof that a D-label student can become a world changer. You are the proof that your past does not have to be your future. By becoming unavailable to the world, you have gained the power to save the world. So stand tall. Breathe in the air of your new life. You've paid the price. You've done the time. You've faced the demons. Now, go out there and walk in your greatness. Don't let the world pull you back into the average. Stay sharp, stay hungry, stay focused, and most importantly, stay true to the version of you that you met in the silence. The journey has been long, the path has been steep, but look at where you are. You are not just a survivor, you are a conqueror. You have greatness within you. I can see it, I can feel it. The world is waiting for you to take your place. Don't keep them waiting any longer. Step out of the cocoon, spread those wings, and fly. Because it's not over. It's just beginning, and it's not over until you win.